We're on. Okay, hello to everyone online, and you can see my outline here. Wanted to go through these three topics. If I don't get through it, I'll pick it up next time. I've just kind of been wondering what you've been doing as teams. I mean, you've got lots of time with nothing due, and I haven't been putting up quizzes. So I hope it's going well. If there's anything to talk about, let's talk about it. But until I get lists of questions or requests to do things, I'm just going to kind of move through what I think can benefit the teams. I put all these recommended practices up here for reasons, and I just wanted to kind of go through a few of them. If you haven't looked at this one, Project Code of Accounts, give it a visit. We talked about that a little bit last time. Charge accounts, things like that. All of this stuff is fodder or information for your deliverables. So you can reference these, and they can give you ideas for your work plan, reports, and basis of estimate, and things like that. This might be a good one right now. Identification of activities. I think we've gone over that a little bit. It may be early. I hope it's not too early. Maybe some of you are thinking about scheduling now. You need to be thinking about it real quick. And this recommended practice has to do with the activity logic, sequencing the WBS activities for the project. I take it for granted that students know this, but I know how some of the estimating courses went. I know that we had an adjunct and we did 8-week sessions, and a lot of you were in those. So some of this, may stir up things that you need, and bring them here so we can discuss them. Schedule classification, we've kind of looked at that in terms of the level of detail of work breakdown structures. This is for factoring. RS Means has factors, so if you use a cost source, you need to know, what location that cost source was developed so you can factor it for another location. So you wouldn't want to use a database cost from Gotebo, Oklahoma, if your project's in Orange County, California. I mean, there's going to be a difference. Constructability is really, this is the builder's feedback to the designers and or the owner, but constructability is also something I hope that your team goes over when you review the schedule. I remember the competition team spent a lot of time working on the estimate. We burned a lot of time there. But when we finally pulled up the schedule and started putting in activity logic, that was like the first time the team really started, I thought. I don't know if y'all can speak to it, but I thought that was the first time y'all really got your heads together and started strategizing how to build the project. Okay. Again, you got to have a work breakdown structure. You might not have to have the takeoff completely done, but constructability is finding ways to alternate methods of building the project that save time and money. This is about reviewing the estimate, so I hope you have some mechanism within your team to review these deliverables before they go out. I have this vision of you do this part, you do this part, you do this part. Somebody's in charge by default or by design of putting it together and no one sees the whole picture. And then you end up giving me crap, and everybody on the team suffers grade-wise. So, you've got to put your heads together and review this stuff before its final version. Specifically the work breakdown structure, the final estimate or the proposal, the prices, and the schedule. Hopefully no one has an issue with developing duration. How do you come up with an activity duration? You've got to do that not only for the schedule but for the estimate. If you do your estimate first, you've already got a duration for the schedule, whatever. Basis of estimate, we've covered that. We've covered this. Schedule levels of detail, this. Here's a constructability review for the schedule. The critical path is critical once you do the schedule. What would you use? How could you use this one? It says schedule update review for your project control plan. I mean, there's a lot of stuff in here to give you information, ideas, and material for for these deliverables I'm requesting. What's an S-curve? Need to find out. That's something that I'm going to look really good at if you include it in your work. It has to do with cash flow, all right? Cumulative cash flow over the life of the project, which you can't determine without a cost-loaded schedule, CPM schedule. And typically it takes the form of an S if you have a decent schedule. This one we've talked about. Escalation. What's escalation? That's kind of that's a high-end recommended practice, but what's escalation? Well, this is good. I know what I'm going to put on quizzes now.
Does that have to do with speeding up the project?
Well, I don't know I don't recall the duration of both of these projects. I think they're both over a year. And I don't know if their the calendars are working days or calendar day. That's something that you're going to need to know for your schedule as well. Is the contract time on calendar days or work days? But escalation can mean several things. Probably in our context, it means if you take Andrew Lester was at the student constructors meeting Wednesday, and he works for a very large material supplier. Specifically, one of the materials is ready-mix concrete. And I think both of these projects have sufficient amounts of concrete to pour, and your schedule will indicate what time of the year you're going to need that Portland cement concrete delivered to your site. And when you take a quote from someone like Andrew Lester you say, well, this is my project. I think there's approximately so many cubic yards of 3,500 PSI ready-mix concrete on this project. Please give me a quote so I can put it in my estimate. And more than likely, his quote will say, here's your price for ready-mix concrete, and it's valid until June 30, 2015. After June 30, 2015, at $1.25 per cubic yard. After January 1, 2016, add $2.50 per cubic yard. That's escalation. He's covering himself. He's not giving you a price, a quote, He's giving you a price, which becomes your cost, but he's not keeping it static for the duration of the project, which is smart, because he's going to have variations in material costs, and they're typically upward, not downward. Escalation can also mean you escalate the total price of the project. Especially if it's of long duration. And the ability to be able to put that in your estimate is dependent upon the size of the job, whether it's a hard bid situation, which these jobs were. Typically, there's not room to put escalation on jobs of this size, and the market. Because there's so much competition. So if you put your home office overhead, you mark up your direct cost with your job overhead spread, and you put in the home office overhead and the profit, and if you still have room for escalation, that's pretty rare, in my opinion. And be competitive to get the work. Boy, there's one, developing a project controls plan. Okay. Schedule design. Has anyone looked at that one? 61R10. That's a fantastic checklist that I'm looking at right there for you to consider before and as you build your schedule. And they're looking forward to project controls right here, monitoring of time and cost and resources. Good stuff. All right, I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but I would definitely take a look at that. Schedule contingency, that's worth a look. Risk management plans, baseline schedule review. That's something that you could certainly need to understand what that is. You need to understand what a baseline is and how it affects your project controls plan. Earned value management. Okay. That gets big smiley faces in the project controls plan. Some of you may not know what it is. I'll go over it, but you should know what it is before you leave. And you should build it in. It's a way, it's a simple way to view the information in your schedule once you start updating it daily, weekly, or whatever, once the project begins. You can basically look at 3 curves and find out if you're ahead on time, behind on time, ahead on money, behind on money. You can be behind on both. You can be ahead on both. All you have to do is learn how to read 3 graphs, and it's pretty slick stuff. The rest I just kind of throw in there since some of you will be heading out into industry as fresh meat, and these are some of the competencies that they're looking for. All right, so I just wanted to remind you about the recommended practices. I'll get rid of those. And what I wanted to talk about a little bit, I may jump into this one a little bit first, but I definitely want to go over some scheduling. I think it will relate to the work breakdown structure as much as anything else, even for estimating. But a couple things that I've heard that all the faculty, excuse me, the faculty and staff at the university have been given Office 365 accounts through the university. That means, besides Excel and PowerPoint and Word, and I don't know if Visio's in there or not, OneNote, which this is from OneNote. OneNote it's very simple, but it has a lot of power. OneNote's pretty cool. It also has what's called Lync, and does anyone know what that is? Well, Skype's going to be, Microsoft bought Skype, and they're going to turn it off because they already have Lync. Well, they say they're going to build Skype into it, but Lync's got everything you need. I mean, you can video conference with it, instant messenger with it, you can record the session. So if you all had Lync accounts on your team, you could be at different locations, you could share your screen, you could share whatever you want. You could share the Synchro application. It's slick. Okay. And the other thing for faculty and staff is we have OneDrive, and that's the storage space in the cloud that you get with Office 365, and we have unlimited storage on it. So I could put up really big files up there and share it with other faculty or with any of you. It's basically a better Dropbox. I'm not trying to push Microsoft, but I'm just telling you that we have these tools, and my understanding is that all the students at USM also have Office 365 accounts. They just haven't told you yet. And if you know how to sign in with your SOAR credentials, you have those tools. Now, I don't know if you've got Lync or OneDrive. You're saying yes. Have you played with it?
I don't think there's a link. I tried to log in on Lync with the school email and those notes, but you just go to Office for Education and then sign up with school email, and then
Do they offer OneDrive space? Do you know how much?
that's the business version. I'm not sure how much that
Well, just OneDrive is good. And maybe you can get a trial on Lync, or maybe it doesn't cost much. I don't know. But I just wanted to throw that out. I'm not a student. My accounts are different. But I throw that out there to you and to the online students as well. And then I've got Microsoft Project on here. I installed Synchro on this computer today via the instructions and the license tools that I put in this course's Blackboard shell. If you don't know where that is, it's in the references folder under course materials, and there's a folder in there called software and tools, and shows you how to download and activate Synchro. And with this PC, obviously I'm on the university Wi-Fi. I think I started the download at 12:30 or 1 o'clock, and I didn't get through very long ago. It's a 400 megabyte download, which with my Comcast account at home, it would have gone pretty quick. I think they throttle here. I think they throttle big downloads. Probably they don't want people on tour sites and downloading movies and stuff like that, so they make it slow on purpose, probably. Or it may just be slow. Wouldn't surprise me. And the reason I did that was so I could do a demo on this machine, number one. Number two, the screenshots that I showed of Synchro the other night were from a version that I downloaded probably almost a year ago. And they've made changes to the application, to the program, probably for the better. And I didn't read the tutorials or anything like that. I just went in there and just started trying to build a work breakdown structure, put in durations, created activity logic. I did that with ease. When I started to resource load it, I got hung up a little bit, and I'll show you that. So I said to myself, okay, number one, I'm struggling with how to get this done. I went to their help, and to their help is online, so basically the user's document is, you need an internet connection for, and it's you can tell it's typically written by a software company, people that, go ahead and close it. People that wrote it are techies, and so I couldn't really find what I was looking. I found what I was looking for, but it wasn't real helpful. So I said, "Man, I can really fly in Microsoft Project. Maybe I would want to do it that way, and then import it into Syncron, which is easy to do." So anyway, I thought I'd talk about both of those applications tonight. And if you didn't know, do you all know? You probably don't know. Do you know? All right. This is on the topic of Microsoft Project. If you want to acquire it, you don't have to buy it. All right. It's not part of Office 365 that I know of, at least not the licensed version that you get here. So I provided this link, which takes you to the School of Construction website, or a place called DreamSpark. And if you can log in to here, everything on here is free. And there's a lot of stuff here. Some of you may just want to put about 1,000 things in your shopping cart, regardless of whether you want to use Microsoft Project. What's this saying? Yeah, I want to proceed. So, there's Microsoft Project 2013. Obviously, that may be something you want to get. But, I'm going to download Windows 8.1 for a PC I have at home. I've been using 8 for a year and a half. I wouldn't show me Windows 7 and I don't know what to do. I mean, I don't like Windows 7 anymore. They even have the new preview of Windows 10 if you have an old PC and want to play around. But there's a lot of stuff here. I think there's 200 applications. So between operating systems, some of it's old stuff that you wouldn't want. Visio, hey man, that's a powerful program. There you get it for free. Microsoft Access, what's that? You guys don't know? Database. It's a database. Anyway, wanted to make you aware of that. And besides the link, if you want to go there, the way I do it is I go to construction.usm.edu. And that brings you to interior design in Italy. And I go to undergraduate programs, construction, and in these right frames over here, it says Microsoft software for faculty and students. And you don't have to read all this. There's a link right in the middle of this big set of text. And that takes you here where I went to with that direct link. Okay. If you can't log in, you can request credentials. I forget how it works. You may be able to log in just with your SOAR credentials. But if not, give Carlos Sterling an email, and he will get you in there. So most of you here know Carlos. There's his email URL. So I wanted to make you aware of some of those things, especially the OneDrive, because some of these files can get big depending on what y'all are doing, and you can share and collaborate that way. Questions on any of that? Is that news to anybody? You didn't know that stuff was available? All right, well, appreciate that. All right, so I told you about Syncro. And so I'm going to stumble through it today. I practiced for 15 minutes, but I followed the instructions, like I said, on the materials in the Blackboard site. So I have it installed. And it's a little different from what I had before. This Resources tab was over here. And this was just a navigator. It didn't really have any tabs here at all. So this thing is tab-driven kind of at the bottom. And so I may minimize this a little bit. Wonder if I could, I think I'll just close it. And what I have here is a place to put the work breakdown structure in this tab. And over here, I call this a date ribbon. I don't know if Syncro calls it that. That's what I call it. And I haven't tried importing. Like I said, I was going through the user guide, which is online, and I think you can export and import through Excel. Microsoft Project does that really well. I have not experimented with importing from Excel, so what I'm thinking in my head is if you have your work breakdown structure completed from your team and you want to suck it in here, you can probably import it through Excel. I'm sure you could cut and paste it. But all you do is, type in a task name and give it a duration. And I'm just going to play around a little bit. It'll actually let me kind of drag like Excel, and you can see that it's trying to draw duration bars over here on this side. Also, we talked about different levels in the work breakdown structure the other night. And just like in Microsoft Project, if I hold the Control key down, select these two tasks, I think I can go to the Task tab up here and indent these, and now maybe you can see they're subordinate to Task 1. And if I put in a duration, let's say I put in a duration here of 20 days, you got to put in a D, else it thinks it's hours. Let me put, and that's probably something you could change in options or something. Notice how the durations roll up to the top. Okay. So it's task 1 in this case is a summary task, and task 2 and task 3 are subordinates to task 1. And I'm sure the cost will work the same way. The durations sum to the top, and the cost would sum to the top also. So if this was a real schedule, and I was putting in information such as resources that had costs associated with them, it would sum to the top, and I would not put any information in the summary task. Nor, this is a big deal, some of you are going to get hung up on it, and I'll take off for it. Summary tasks don't get logic. All right? So you just create logic between the lowest level activities in that work package. Let the summary tasks just be holders. You follow me? Because if you put schedule logic in the lower level activities, see, I can link these two. Surely there's a quick link thing here, and and maybe I can change this in settings. I don't know. I just link those with some simple logic, and I think you have to. It doesn't do the forward and backward pass automatically like Project does by default. So I had to say reschedule, and boom, it showed the sequence there in the ribbon. I don't even know how to expand and contract this ribbon here. But that's a big deal, what I'm telling you now, okay? So I hope you understand what I'm saying about the summary task. I don't connect this to anything. It doesn't have a predecessor or successor. It floats around with the work package. So if you start connecting the summary tasks, whether it's a level 1 summary task or a level 2 summary tasks, if you start putting logic on those summary tasks, those placeholders, you'll mess up your forward and backward pass. It'll screw up your whole CPM algorithm and the float and the whole 9 yards. So again, and some of you, especially on the competition team, will know that planning these different levels before you put it in the schedule is a good idea, going back after the fact, if I remember. But, you know, those are the things that have to happen for you to learn it. Let's see. Probably looking right at it. How do I indent it? Anyone see it?
Yes, and then right there, see where it says diagonal?
Where it says what?
Third
Oh,
tab,
thank you.
right
Yes.
there.
Boom. Oops. Holding the control key down and linking these. There's probably a better way or an additional way besides I'm not that familiar with the program yet.
Now, if you want to drag like you're doing on, like I do on Project,
Let's see if I can drag this.
you gotta click it,
Well, I drag the duration.
no, click it, and then go over there to the top, see where it's, to your right.
There's a lot of stuff to my right.
Click that task 5.
It's clicked because it's got the yellow. See, so it's highlighted.
Yeah, you gotta click the bar to save it.
All right.
See, it comes up with those,
With the little cross.
well, right there, it's gonna show you. You click it, then it'll give you,
Click it, see the 2 dots on the right side of the task bar, if you go right there, it brings up a chain link.
pull it diagonal.
You can drag it on
Where do I get the chain link?
through. Click the bar. I can go over to the right. Okay, and unselect it.
There it is.
I like the way it does the chain.
I see now. Thank you. Okay. What else can you show me? I'm glad you guys have been playing with it.
I know you change.
Has anyone loaded, have you assigned resources?
I haven't even tried that yet. I just went to Lakeland.
What are you going to say, Ross?
You want to zoom in and out for your
Want to make the ribbon bar larger and smaller.
hold control and user scroll.
You ain't gonna use control as long as you mouse it in. Like, I go over here, scroll up and down, and you go over here, scroll up and down.
Yeah, just use your scroll.
Never mind, you ain't got to scroll.
Wonder if that's the only way. So for me, there's a little learning curve here. If you don't know project, then dive in.
Thing is, drag like from your end over there to the store to do a finished store. You start, you got to drag from your store to your store to do a store start. You ain't got to sit there and double click and change them like you did, project.
Man, I mean, I know you could show me, but talking me through it may be a little tougher.
Say you're doing the task now, click it just like you done before.
Right here?
Now go to your start side on the left.
Start side on the left, okay.
You gotta re-click it decently. So you let your chain come up over there.
Oh, I see. So it's selected when these 4 circles are at the corners, and then,
Chain.
and now what do I do?
Click it and drag over to that other one. Either finish or start. I see it's a start.
Okay, all right. They're laughing at me, not you.
Finish start. You double click and change the click just like you do project. Logic. Click on it right here.
Well, I lost my resource tab now.
It's over on your right.
Over on my right. Thank you.
There you go.
Right here?
Yeah. It's in the shade.
Well, now it's over here. Josh. What I did was I went to the Windows tab and I clicked on this resource. Guess I could get rid of that. And I got this thing. I know if I right mouse click, I can add equipment, people, materials. So here, you got to set up a company. Portland Cement Concrete, 3,500 PSI. Okay. Right mouse click, add an equipment resource. Add a labor classification of some type. Carpenters, farm workers, electricians. If And if I right mouse click it and go to properties, you can put in costs and information over here. And I didn't quite get this down, but let's say I want $250 an hour. To me, this is the clumsy part for me, is putting in the resources and getting them assigned. What I did find out was that if you click a task and then you click over here, that's how you assign them. That's one way to assign them. So if I click a task, click resources in this, I call this the pool. You have to have a pool of resources. I can click assign, and now it's assigned to this task. So to me, that's a little bit backwards versus what I'm used to. All right, so the main thing I wanted to show you was how to create different levels of tasks. Suppose some of you may want to have level 3s or level 4s, depending on how you look at it. You know, that you can collapse and expand them. I've done a lot of schedules on some pretty big projects of the size that we're looking at, and I very rarely go to 3. Keep it simple. Doesn't mean you can't. Just remember what I give, which one of these, all right, these all belong to the same family. Expand task 4 to see task 5. I can collapse task 6 into task 5. Task 6 is the lowest activity in that work package, so which one gets activity logic? The lowest one, 6. Not 5 and not 4. The other thing that I will look for in a schedule, what's the condition for calculating the critical path in a schedule? Well, the definition is the longest path through the network of the activities. That's right. It's the longest path, and if you delay the longest path, you'll delay the project, because there could be activities that branch off of the critical path, and those will have float because they're not on the critical path. Activities on the critical path have 0 float. You can tell your scheduling software to change those rules, but by definition, activities on the critical path have 0 float. And it's important for a project manager to know what activities have float. Because there's a lot of things you can do. You can use those activities as fallback and things like that. But there's still a condition that I'm looking at. I guess no one here had me for scheduling. Here's another rule that I'll be looking for. It should be ingrained in your head, but it's not, probably. And that is every activity, and I'm not talking about summary activities, but every activity in the project needs at least one predecessor and at least one successor, except the first activity and the last. Okay. So you can start off, you don't have to put this in your work breakdown structure for the estimate, but in the schedule you might want to put in a milestone. What's a milestone? It's a 0 duration activity. See what happens if I put 0 in here. Oops. See, it made it a little diamond, kind of the way Project does. So you can put in a milestone for your very first activity called Notice to Proceed, and that will not have a predecessor. And you can put in a milestone at the very, in here, which will act as your last activity. What could it be? Occupancy, or it could be substantial completion. Only thing about that is there's punch lists even after that, but that's okay. Substantial completion's fine. 2 milestones. One doesn't have a predecessor, one doesn't have a successor, but everything else in between needs to have one. Okay. And what I'll do is I'll go in, I'll pull your schedule in here, and I'll redo these columns. So I found out you can, we're not doing 3D, so I'm getting rid of that field. And I'm looking for predecessors and successors. So there's predecessors, add that over here. Successors, add that over here. Say OK. And I can start seeing there's some gaps here. And that's points off. Again, the reason for it is I want to drill it into your head. What's the reason why I'm asking this? Why am I being such a turd about predecessors and successors? Yeah, the forward and backward pass, that's what, I hope you've done that by hand at least once. That's what's going on in the background of the scheduling software application. And activities without logic, that'll mess up the algorithm, and it'll skew your float, your critical path, all that stuff. So what I do is I go in and I filter and I look for no predecessors, and it better all be summary tasks. And then I do another look, I filter for show me 0, blank successors. And that better be the milestones and, the first and the last milestone and the summary activities. If you use them. You don't have to use summary activities. But at least one level sometimes helps, and we talked about that last time. You may want to use the unit format. It just depends. So I have not at this point played with output. So some of you that have used this, have you printed reports? That's a consideration for which tool you should use, because you're going to have to put this in a report. Now I'm not really going to ask you for paper reports, so that's an advantage. But when you have to punch out paper, Project is wanting sometimes. It's hard to get a Gantt chart in Microsoft Project to print on paper very well. It's doable, it's just time consuming. Questions on any of this? I would start playing with it. Let's see, I think I have a Microsoft Project schedule on here. Let's see if I can import it. I didn't export it as XML, so it probably won't import. When you're in Microsoft Project, if you have a schedule built in there, you need to export it as XML. So I'll try it, but I don't think it'll work. It's in Yeah, it's looking for XML only. It won't even let me pick all files. There it is right there. So, anyway, I'll let you play with that. Maybe I'll show it later if you want me to. One reason I particularly like Syncro, obviously, there are tutorial videos and things that I found. If you go to like support, and you can go to Syncro training, choose videos. They have a bunch of YouTube videos. You can probably just go directly to YouTube. But what they're really pushing, the reason they're really pushing their 4D scheduling application, which is really cool. But I couldn't find a whole lot on just the two-dimensional stuff we're looking at here. Questions on this? Any thoughts? Nah. Now, to me, project is easier for me. But the problem with project is there's actually a major flaw in their forward and backward pass algorithm for the critical path. On small stuff, it's fine. On a job like we're doing in the real world, I wouldn't use Microsoft Project. You can use it in this course. You can use it for your deliverables. I don't care, Syncro or Project. It has a lot of similarities. Probably has a little more complexity that if you don't know how to use it, like if you don't go to Files, Options, and set some things up, you're gonna have some issues. Like this is defaulted to manually scheduled. It should be auto scheduled, and you can set that up to have occur automatically in the options. It's pretty easy to do finish start stuff. It's a lot easier for me to, you can redo redo the column orders, add successors here. This one's pretty good. First task doesn't have a predecessor, the last one doesn't have a successor. I can come in here and filter these for blanks. That's how I used to grade the submissions when I was teaching scheduling. And I can do the same thing in Syncro. It's just I'm quicker at it with this. And what I like about it is the resource pool. Well, I say that. Resource sheet. And I can just set up my resources right here. It's all in one place. I can do it all in one shebang. Probably import it from Excel if I needed to. And then when I go to my Gantt chart, there's a lot of different ways to add the resources. I can come in here and just, if they're in the resource sheet or the pool, I can just add them right here. Boom, 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 boom. That's the way I'm used to doing it. And of course, you can indent and all that good stuff here too. And it works like Microsoft Office. So if I put in 20 days here, 7 days here, everything flows up to the summary, including costs. There's cost tables here. I'm sure you could emulate the same thing. View. All these different views. Or you can make your own views. Do you remember when I had Synchro, I had 20 days and 7 days, and it rolled up to 20 instead of 27? Why did that happen? Because I didn't have any logic, right? So it's not always going to be perfect math. It's going to depend on the logic underneath that summary, because that summary is going to expand and contract. And you can have all the logic in the world, but if you have one activity that's 30 days and everything else is 1 day, it's just going to be 30 days. And, don't forget, you can always, sort this by whatever means that you want. Sort by start date, finish date, by the IDs. You can sort by activities that have certain durations. You can sort activities that have certain resources assigned to them, the whole 9 yards. And the whole point is you don't have to build that work breakdown structure in the order that it's going to happen. Okay. In fact, you can pull up they let you download a sample called Commercial Construction. And I used to use it when I was teaching scheduling or project controls. It's like a two-level thing. It's got some real issues. How do I get rid of this timeline? But on this one that they allow you to download, there's a lot of issues. One is every lower level activity doesn't have a predecessor and successor. So it was kind of a good teaching tool because it had a lot of stuff that needed to be fixed in it. The other thing they did, and I guess we could talk about it later, is the way they loaded this with resources. They did it for their self-performed stuff, they did it by crews. In other words, instead of the individual classifications of workers in the crew and the different pieces of equipment, they just said, all of that's in one crew, boom. So all you could really manage resources was by crew. And I think that's not a very good way to resource load a schedule, because you want to know exactly how many people and machines that you're under-allocated for, over-allocated for, and so forth. Anyway, questions on any of that? Main thing is just about the summary tasks and my experience with Synchro. Nobody has questions, so I'll shut it down. I think our time is up anyway. So thank you.